everybody, welcome to another video. All right, so today I thought we'd do something just a little bit different. I've got a couple of clients that have an interesting situation. Here, let me see if I can get in a good spot with the camera. So I have a couple of clients. One of them has a knee injury and needs a knee replacement, and she is unable to do any weight-bearing exercises like squats or lunges to keep her legs strong while she's waiting to get the knee surgery. And so we've been doing some seated things that she can do that are non-weight bearing. So I wanted to show you those for anybody that has that sort of a situation where you just cannot do any kind of squats, lunges, closed chain exercises. The other thing I wanted to show for you all and have you work on is getting up off the floor, because I have more than one client that has a problem with that. And it's a really big deal, because if you get down on the floor and you don't have someone to help you, or you fall and you don't have someone to help you, you need to be able to get back up off the floor. So I wanted to show you some different ways of doing that, and then also some different ways of strengthening your body. So that's what we're going to do today. I am at work, and I hope that the sound is okay today. I know that some people have said that they cannot hear the sound, so hopefully that'll be fine. I'm going to come a little bit closer to the camera here. Okay, so we're going to start with those non-weight bearing leg exercises. All right, so the first one that we're going to do is working on the quadriceps strength. So the quadriceps are the front of the thighs, and they are very important in terms of getting out of a chair, getting up off the floor, getting out of a low seat, anything like that. They're very important for that. So I have a 5-pound hand weight dumbbell. You can use anything that you have. So if you don't have dumbbells, you can use water bottles, anything that just weighs a few pounds here. And so let's go ahead and rest it on one leg. Now you want to make sure that it's above the knee joint, all right? You never want to have pressure on the knee joint. And the first one we're going to do is with the knee extended. So we're going to straighten the leg and just lift and lower. And you're going to make a point to try and flex that muscle that's right above the knee. So it's a slow lift, slow lower. And you can do about 10 or 15 of those, depending on how difficult it is for you and how much weight that you have on your leg. All right, then switching to the other side. I'm going to turn this music down a little bit. I want you to be able to hear me. All right, so going to the other leg, same thing. Make sure that your weight is resting above the knee. If you need some extra padding, you can wrap a towel around it. Whatever works for you. We're going to start with that straight leg one again. So you want to have a slow, controlled lift and lower. You're not just swinging the leg up and down. You're actually flexing the muscle. All right? Good. Now again, if you don't have the equipment, you can use whatever you have around the house, anything that weighs a few pounds. Good. All right, so next one is we're going to work on the quadriceps again, but also add in the hip flexors, the psoas, which is right here. Okay, so it's a big help in lifting the leg also and in your core work. So going back to this side, we're going to keep the knee bent this time, and then again coming slowly up and down. Slow lift, slow lower, and then go ahead and switch to the other side. So again, you can do about 10 to 15 of those. If that's not challenging for you, see if you have something that weighs a little bit more. So again, we're going for that quadricep, but we're also going for that hip flexor with that bent knee position. Good. All right, so one more that I want to show you from here while you still have your weight is doing a core strengthening one. So this is a really easy one to do. you're gonna bring your weight up a little bit higher on your chest, and we're gonna lean back. So you wanna make sure that your back is nice and lengthened. We've done this a lot in our chair strength training classes. So it's the same thing. You're sitting on your chair or on your bench, whatever you have. Back is lengthened, tummy pulled in, and you're just leaning back. Now, why are we doing this when we're talking about legs? Because when we get to that part that you come up off the floor, your core strength and your upper body strength is going to be important too. So we're going to do a little bit of that, even though we're focusing mostly on leg strength today. We're going to do a little bit of those other things. So this is leaning back until the abdominals are firing there, and then coming back up. So this should be moderately challenging. If it's not, if it's super easy, go ahead and lean back a little bit more. Good. All right, so again, about 10 to 15 of those. You should really be feeling it through here, through the core. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my weight aside and show you the next one. So the next one is for working on inner thigh. Now this is just a little unweighted inflatable ball. You can get these at a toy store, at the sporting goods store. There's nothing special about it. I know Silver Sneakers has their own brand, but this is just an inflatable ball without any particular, it does have a name on it, but it doesn't matter. All right, so this one we are putting either between the knees, or you can go up a little bit higher if you want to make sure that you don't have any pressure here. I have a recent injury on the medial part of my knee, so I'm going to go a little bit higher with it so I don't put any pressure there. Now we're squeezing through the inner thigh, the pelvic floor. We do want to keep the abdominals engaged, so it's going to be a squeeze and a release. I'm going to go up even higher, but you don't have to. A squeeze and a release. Now you can take that tempo up a little bit faster, but really, really try to engage. If your ball that you have is like super squishy and you're not getting any resistance, then see if you can get that inflated. They do lose air over time. Make sure that you're breathing. There's a lot of things to think about, but you want to keep breathing through it. So again, inner thigh, pelvic floor. We can take that tempo up, but we're still really going to be squeezing that ball. And again, if you don't have one of these, easy to find at a toy store, it's a little kid's ball, or a sporting goods store should have some form of these guys. All right, next one is working on the hamstring. So this gets a little bit more complicated. We're going to put the ball behind the knee. Now, of course, if you have any issues with the back of the knee, Baker's cyst or any other problem like that, you can just skip this one. But what we're going to do is we're going to be squeezing the ball between the calf and the hamstring. So if you want, you can either hold here or you can hold onto the ball if you feel like you're going to lose it. But we're trying to use the hamstring muscles to squeeze that ball. All right, so you're pulling that lower leg back, squeezing as hard as you can. This is the trickiest one. And if you feel like you need to have a chair with a back on it, go ahead and make that switch. All right, and then same thing on the other side. It's going to be behind the knee, directly behind the knee, and you're squeezing that ball between the calf and the hamstring. Hold onto the ball if you want to, or you can just hold in front of the shin if you want to. It's up to you. Breathe through it. Remember to keep breathing. All right, so again, 10 to 15 of those. And then one more thing with our ball here is working on the upper body. So again, while we're focusing mostly on lower body today, you do want strength in the upper body as well, because when you go to get up off the floor, if you need to use your hands for that, and your arms and your shoulders, you're going to want the upper body strength. So we're going to do some presses here with the ball. So we have heels of the hands pressing in. If you've watched some of my strength training videos with the ball, you're familiar with this. Just keep that going. Let me see if I can get rid of this. I think we've got an ad here. Hold on, everybody. Keep squeezing. Get rid of that ad. Get back to the music. Okay. So we're going to keep squeezing. Now, so we're going for the pectoral muscles here as well as the shoulders and arms. So squeeze it. If that's not hard, go ahead and come out a little bit, but we still want the pectoral muscles working. Shoulders are away from the ears. Make sure that you're not shrugging. That's very, very common. Tighten up the neck, tighten up the upper traps. Good. All right, nice job. So again, let's do on this one about 15 to 20 of those, and then put that aside. All right, so the next leg one that we're gonna go to is working on the outer glute, outer thigh. And again, remember, these are exercises that you could do without having to be weight bearing. So if somebody was able to do the standing exercise, I would have them doing a side step or a monster walk with the band. But if we need to stay seated, then we can do a seated clamshell, which works really well. Now this is a squat band. It's a thick band of fabric that you can use that's a little bit more intensity. There's also the regular round stretchy bands, if you've seen those before. Those are fairly easy to get a hold of. Or if you've got a physical therapy band, the flat band that they just cut a piece off of, you can tie that into make a circle and tie that into a circle at the appropriate length for you. So any of those is a good option. I'm going to go ahead and use the squat band here. And this guy is going to go above the knees. So again, if you were doing a monster walk or a side step, we'd have it around the ankles. But in this case, we're going to have it above the knees because we want to create a lot of tension here to be able to do this in the seated position. So again, you can use the squat band, you can use the loop band, or I don't have a physical therapy band to show you because I've given them away, but you can use that as well. So first thing, it's above the knees. Sit up super tall, and you're gonna lean back a little bit. So if you feel like you wanna hold on to your bench or your chair, you can do that. Now, I'm gonna put, and unfortunately I don't have my camera low enough for you to see, but I'm gonna keep the soles of my feet together so that my insteps stay together, and that's gonna make it a more effective exercise. So from there, keeping those insteps locked together, you're gonna bring the knees apart, and then remember to add that lean back. All right, so we're going deep into these outer glute stabilizer muscles. So hold on if you feel like you need to, and we're gonna do an open and close. So you're really driving those knees apart. Take it nice and slowly. Nice and slowly. And you're really gonna feel it there. If you don't, see if you can use a heavier band. Now you can also do a side step like I've done a lot of times in the class where the dumbbell or the weight is just on the leg and you're going out and in. That's a perfectly fine option if you don't have a band available. But because of gravity, it's not quite as effective as doing it with the band, which is going to keep tension on there the whole time. So again, about 10 to 15 of those, and you should really be feeling it in that outer glute. Outer thigh. All right, so I do want to show you another upper body one before we move on to the lie down stand up techniques. So going back to that loop band or physical therapy band, whatever you have, I had to get a little creative during the quarantine. I didn't have all of my equipment there. And so you can actually do upper body exercises with this guy. So you're going to bring it up overhead and you're going to think of like a lat pull down movement, okay? So you know in a gym where you've got the bar, you're pulling it down to the chest. It's that same kind of movement here. So working on the shoulders and upper back. You're going to stretch that band apart, bring it back up. Sit up super tall, pull it down, pull your shoulder blades together, and then release it back up. So again, upper back, shoulders, pull it down. Now make sure that you're breathing. Okay, don't forget to breathe. Still very important. Good. And again, we're doing a little upper body exercise because it's important to have the upper body strong as well. And I'm going to show you a couple more things with the bench before we go down to the mat. All right, so again, 10 to 15 of those, and let's move on. All right, so the next two I'm going to show you are going to be exercises that you can do with your bench or your chair. So I'm going to turn this sideways so you can see it. The first one is going to be a bench push-up. And again, we're just doing a little bit of upper body exercise. Make sure that we have our chest, shoulders, back, arms, everything strong enough to assist anytime we're getting up off the floor. So you don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but it's good to do. So thinking of a regular push-up, but you're elevated. So we're going to drop the hips down so that we're in a nice straight line from shoulders to ankles, and down. Drive your bench or chair down into the floor as you push yourself back up. Drive it down. That's going to help you feel the pectorals. Keep breathing through it. Good. Just one more. I know these are super hard. A lot of people find them really challenging. So if you need to decrease the range of motion or do maybe not quite so many reps on that, that's fine. You can do multiple sets on it. That's fine too if you would like to do that. Again, just strengthening the upper body. We're going to strengthen the core next, making sure that the whole body is strong for when we're getting up off the floor. So the next one is going to be plank using the bench. Plank is that universal exercise that everybody loves to hate. It's a really good exercise, and just like the push-up, if we elevate your body a little bit, it's not going to be quite as hard. So if you're good with doing a plank all the way down on the mat on the floor, awesome. If you would like to have a modification here, and again, dropping those hips down. So a lot of times I'll see people with their hips too high or too low, and you've got the pressure coming from the forearms. Make sure that your shoulders feel okay. Make sure your abdominals are in tight. Make sure the glutes are engaged, but you're relaxing your neck. Now go ahead and hold that for about 30 to 60 seconds. All right? So now moving on to getting up off the floor. So we're kind of switching from the seated exercises or the non-weight bearing things, and we're going to segue into the part about getting up off of the floor, getting up off the ground. Very important. So first thing, of course, is just getting up out of a chair. All right, so you've got your regular height chair kind of thing, and it's just getting all the way up, all the way down. So when we were working on the quadriceps earlier, that's going to help you power up, but also make sure that you engage those glutes. I see a lot of people that are just really not able or not using their glutes for their power, and that's your big power muscle for the lower body. So squeeze them. Make sure you can get up out of that standard height chair or bench. If you're ready for a little bit lower bench or chair, go ahead and try that as a modification before you move on to coming down to the floor. I'm going to go ahead and come down to the mat now and show you a few different ways of doing that. So remember to hydrate as always. Please take a water break whenever you need it. All right, so we are coming down to the floor. So for whatever reason, you're coming down to the floor or you're on the floor, you need to get something from the floor, or hopefully you didn't have a fall, but that's always a possibility too. So you need to be able to get up off the ground. So what I have people do is just practice. I'm gonna come back a little bit. I have them just practice getting down on the floor and coming back up. Simple as that. But I want to show you a few different ways of getting up off the floor, okay? So, option one, if you feel like you are insecure getting up off the floor without any assistance, then before you come down, have a bench or a chair nearby, something that you can hold on to. I'm going to bring it back in. So you have that there. This is going to be your first option. So when you come down, go ahead and use a mat or a blanket or a towel, whatever you have. You're going to come down to the floor, and if you need to use a chair or bench to get down and get back up, then make sure that you have that available. Of course, we want to work up to not using the chair or the bench. We want you to be able to get up without that assistance, all right? Because there's always that chance you're not going to have something there. But practicing it, first option is to come back over to the hands and knees. Use that chair or bench to help you get up. Bring one foot through, one leg through, and then pushing off and coming back up. When you do these, you want to be sure that you're rolling over onto both sides. Everybody has a stronger, more dominant side, so make sure that you're doing it on the weaker side. You're not always coming up on the right or always coming up on the left. And I'll show you some more of that. All right, so moving on to coming up without having a chair or bench for assist. You can start out the same way, coming down to the floor. All right, you can lie all the way down if you want to, but again, we're going to do both sides. So coming up, first option is to just come over to hands and knees, and then bring one leg through. All right, so this is where your strength is going to come from. This is where you're going to be glad that you worked on the quads. All right, using the hands, push yourself up until you can bring the second leg through and come all the way back up to standing. Let's do the other side. Again, make sure that you do both sides. All right, so if you have a preference for one side, make sure that you do both sides. And again, you don't have to come all the way down, just coming to a semi-lying position. Now again, we're going to bring the leg through and use the hands to assist. So you're going to come over to hands and knees. That's part one. Then bring the leg through. So you notice I'm using the opposite leg now from the first time I did it. Use your hands as needed. Push off, power in that front leg, and come back up to standing. All right, the next way of doing it is to come back up to standing without having to bring the leg through. So if you're feeling like you're pretty good at this, you're pretty strong, you don't really need to go through all of that, here's another way of doing it. All right, so coming back down to the floor. All right, always careful, try and be as controlled as possible when you come down. You definitely don't want to just flop down or fall. Now, coming back up, instead of bringing the leg through, you're going to come to hands and knees position, and then come back onto your toes. All right, so you're starting to lean your weight back onto your toes. Use your hands to help you, and use the strength in your legs and your glutes to come back up to standing. Let's do that again, coming down on the other side. Again, control coming down. Use your hands if you need to. We're down on the floor, and now we're going to roll to the other side and come back to hands and knees. Again, we're doing the option without having to bring one leg through. So that's slightly more advanced option. From the hands and knees position, you're going to be sitting back, so you've got the toes tucked underneath you, and you're able to use your strength of your legs to just unfold and come back up. Now, final option on this one, if you're feeling super, super strong, you don't need your hands at all. You can just get back up off the floor, no problem. Go ahead and do that. There's always the option to do the cross leg. There's the option to do the wide knee, and just come back up to standing from the ground position. Now, this is super challenging, and I had someone comment to me that they were trying to get up when they were down next to a refrigerator, and they were in the lean back position, or the upright position rather, and they could not get up because they had no room to lean their torso forward. So keep in mind that if you're at a mechanical disadvantage where you are, it's not necessarily bad if you have to use something to help yourself back up. All right, so let's see if we can go ahead and come up to standing without using the hands. So you can really go back to whatever method you were using before, coming down and coming back up. So again, if you want to roll over, you want to cross the legs, you want to do a wide knee position, I'm going to use my hand on this side because I've got a slight knee injury here. There we go. Okay, I just want to be careful that I don't twist it. All right, so finally, finishing up with coming down to a little bit lower seat and practicing that. I'm going to get out my balance board. What is this? Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is actually a balance board that I have people stand on, but it also works really well to practice the sit, lie, and stand-up option. It's got a lower platform than what you would use sitting on a normal chair or a bench, but it's something that I can stand up from and practice that lower position without getting all the way down to the floor. So if I want to strengthen quads and glutes again, and coming back up from that position. Now, of course, if you don't have one of these, you can find anything in your house that's a little bit lower, maybe an ottoman or a coffee table or something that's a little bit lower, and you can practice coming up. So keys from that, again, you're going to use your quads, but you're also going to use your glutes as you come up. Make sure the knees don't come in towards each other. And of course, this is for people who are okay with weight bearing. All right, so this is different than the first part of the video where we were doing all things that were seated and not weight bearing. One more time. And that's it. All right, well, I hope that this gave you some helpful ideas for working on the body, working on the lower body, especially when you need to be non-weight bearing, and also some ideas for getting up off the floor, getting up off the ground, different options for that. Remember to just practice at the level that you're at. What I see a lot is people, as they get older, they start to lose strength and they cannot get up off the floor, and therefore they don't practice it. And so, of course, then it's just going to get worse and worse. So it might not be something that you love doing. It might be kind of more of a challenge than you would really like to do, but I would really recommend that you do practice doing this at least a few times a week. Whenever you can think of it, practice getting up off the floor, because it's the most functional way of getting up off the floor is to do exactly that exercise, but do it under a controlled setting where you have, a bench there that you can help you with. You've got a nice soft mat, hopefully, that you can lie down on, and you can experiment with all the different ways of getting up off the ground, whether it's rolling onto the hands and knees, tucking the leg underneath you, or bringing one leg forward, using your hands if you need it, or not if you don't need it. So I would highly recommend working on that if you possibly can. Of course, the disclaimer being, if you have injuries to your body, ankles, knees, hips, and you should not be getting down on the floor, then just go ahead and skip this part and go back to the first part where we were doing the seated exercises that you can use to go ahead and help strengthen your lower body, because you want to stay strong no matter what your situation is. And I just wanted to give you something a little bit different here, some tools that are a little bit different from the normal chair-based class that we do, and then I'll bring back the chair-based class next time. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this gave you some good ideas. I hope you have a great day and a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.